All right, guys, here we are. We're starting up again. In this video, we've got some moves to make that are, tricky. So, let's pay attention, right? First thing I want to do is just double check that I'm on point with all of my 3D curves, and it looks like I'm not, actually. You can see here that I've got a little gap in between my profile curve and my 3D curve. Down here, I don't, so that's good. So it's time to just do a little bit of cleanup, and so we can do that in a few different ways. Number one is we have to remember this is a 3D curve, so it's built off of two different curves. We just need to double check that those are kind of doing what they should do. So let's take an edit and let's take a look at this and just make sure that's in line. Okay, there, that's good. Like that. This one actually needs a little bit of something. It's going to need a horizontal relation right there so that when we mirror it, it's going to work. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with that, so we'll call that. And does that fix it? Not quite. Let's keep going. Okay, so there. So we edited one. Let's look at the other one now. And here's this one. Okay, cool. So let's just see here. There's the end point of the curve, so stick that on there like that. That's what we needed. I think that should do the trick. Let's just look at it overview again. Okay, cool. And that should do it right like that. There you go. Okay, so just a little slop on my part, no problem. Nothing to freak out about, but got to catch it now. If you let that sort of thing slide until the end, you're dead in the water. It's never going to work for you. Okay. All right. So a super tricky part. How do we get a plane that's going to hit the endpoint of this 3D curve and hit this curve here? Because we're going to build a bridge that's going to go from here to here. So we've got to do the same thing down here. A 3D curve that angles itself perfectly so that it's hitting both these two things at the same time so you can build that bridge. I found a neat little way to do it last night, and here's how it works. You open up your orientation view, you look at this thing from the front view, you figure out which plane is there, it's the front plane, start up a sketch, open up your line tool. Where's my line tool? There's my line tool. And you're just going to go from the endpoint of this 3D curve. As usual, just draw it away from the model and then fit it into place later. A straight line, not a curve, but a straight line. And so then you're going to very quickly just snap this to the endpoint of the 3D curve and snap this anywhere you want, really, to the glass portion of this, okay? And just try to think about the fact that what you're going to do is you're going to create a 3D curve later, or you're going to create an arc later that's going to go from here to here, and it's going to be one of the two directions for a boundary surface. So like the way that I'm looking at this kind of area I'm going to fill, I notice this kind of harsh kink in the surface, and that might cause me some nasty geometry. So it seems much smarter for me to bring this up before that kink so that I have a nice clean transition down here and I avoid all of that drama. So let me take it a step further actually and go like this. Let's go to, there's the curve that I used to trim away my extruded surface at the start. And so I can now, with that visible, I can slide this thing down until it hits that curve. And let's just hope that works. SOLIDWORKS doesn't like this. It's like, hey, the automatic relations inferred by this operation and over-define the sketch. That's just SOLIDWORKS whining about the fact that it wants to add dimensions or sketch relations to your model, and it doesn't like it. So just let it whine about that. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my line tool again, and I'm going to find the midpoint of this, and I'm going to draw a perpendicular line off of this, just like that. Okay, and I'll make everything construction geometry. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a plane right at the end point of this sketch. Okay, so I'm going to click the body of the sketch and the end point of the sketch. Reference geometry. I have to exit out first. Reference geometry plane 1 and 2. There you go. Okay, so it doesn't look like it, but somewhere in space, this thing extends out and hits the end point of both of these now, and you're good to go. All right, so this is the concept of thinking in 3D, right? But operating in 2D. Hard to understand. Maybe it'd make a little bit more sense if I just took this plane and just kind of extended it out into space and just made it a little bit bigger, because it's only giving us a small preview of what this is doing. But you can see now what that's doing. It's hitting just right there at the tip there, and it's coming right through here. So now I can start up a sketch on there, and I can go and grab my spline tool, and I can go and kind of rough it in. We'll do a pierce command here. We'll do a pierce down here. Okay. We'll give this thing a little bit of an arc, because this has got an arc over here. So again, really important curves. Probably going to need some editing later on. I think that's good like that. Hide the plane, hide your construction geometry, hide your previous curve, and now you've got just that. Okay, good news. Okay, cool. So just in the interest of efficiency, I'm going to go ahead and perform this operation now, as far as doing the boundary surface to fill in this four-sided hole that I've created. Okay, remember our goal is always to create four-sided or three-sided holes. Anything else would be too difficult. Let's go boundary surface. I'm going to go, see, as I'm about to click this, I'm realizing, you know what, I taught you guys, let's use extruded surface. Sorry. We'll use extruded surfaces here. Everywhere we can, basically, let's do that. Sorry. Just because it's been a lesson that we've covered in class, and so why not continue to do it now? I'm not going to start cutting corners now. But I want to have 3D geometry at the endpoints here, so at least I can get a better tangency option later on down the road. All right. Yeah, okay, boundary surface. It's going to go direction 1 from one side to the other. Okay, looks like we got to flip our connectors right there first off. And then direction 2 will go from this curve to this curve. All right, she's playing along. Doesn't like that, but what this is just telling you is it's saying, hey, this curve here, this edge is not actually curvature continuous to this surface here, so it's not going to be, it's not going to add the tangent constraint. Just let it ride. Okay, and then we'll approve that, and then we'll hide these reference planes, and we have our very first surface in our model here. Okay, now that surface kind of absorbed a lot of previous work that we've done, so let's kind of show some of that. Let's see here. The one that I really want to show is the goggles part. Where'd it go? Is it get nested inside of here? At least let's show this. At least let's show that 3D curve there. Okay, cool. Just like that. All right, so it's time once again to do the next bit, where we're going to get a connector curve that's going to go from here to here. So let's do that same way we did before. We're going to look at our model from the front view. We're going to open up a sketch on our front plane. And we're going to use a simple line tool to go from the endpoint of this to the interior curve there. We'll go, let's see if we can pierce it. We can't pierce it, it won't work. No, it cannot work. We can do a coincident mate here. Best thing to do in this sort of situation, just throw it on there manually. Once again, same as we did up at the top, we've got to pay special consideration to this curve here, because this is a dramatic moment in this curve. So we want to either land kind of right in the middle of it or kind of somewhere near it, but we should probably look at the previous reference curves and see what we've got. Let's see. All right, well, look, I can't find it right now, so I'm going to eyeball it. We need to think about time, right? A little. All right, and then so I'm going to add another line that's going to come right off of that, perpendicular. See, look at SolidWorks added the perpendicular sketch relation on its own, and that's because we're using straight curves here, and SolidWorks recognizes we're using straight curves, so when you draw straight off of another straight curve, it kind of knows what you're up to, and it goes ahead and just adds the dimension or the relation for you. Okay, and so we'll exit out of that, and then we'll go to reference geometry. We'll click on the body of the sketch. We'll click onto the point of the sketch. We'll double confirm that that's where we need it to be. We'll even, what did I just do? Sorry. I was going to say we'll approve that, and then we'll pull it out in space and just hopefully get a little bit better visual on what this thing's doing, because it's certainly, if you're not used to thinking in 3D, then it can be difficult to make sense. Okay, but you can see what that does. All right, fire up a sketch on that plane, do a curve, and we'll go from there to there, being very careful not to touch any part of our model until we absolutely have to. Do a pierce command to there, do another pierce to here, and just give that thing a little tug as far as some sort of angle. All right, and you can see what's coming. Approve that sketch, hide this, hide these. There we go. And time to perform a boundary surface. Let's just pop out some extruded surfaces just to give ourselves confidence that we're on the straight and narrow. There's that and that. Now let's go ahead and do our boundary. One. I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background, but it sounds like one of my dogs just got into the Tupperware. Too bad I'm making a video, so I can't do anything about it. There's direction 2 is that curve, and direction 2 is this curve. All right, cool. Now we got to just set up a couple of curvature conditions here at these endpoints. There you go. And I'm leaving these other ones alone because I know we're going to build off of that. Okay. All right, good. So, I mean, right away you can see the curve, or you can see the surface that I'm building. It's not the best. I mean, we're going to have to get further down the road before I find out if I'm really in love with it or not, but my first impression, no good. So, just planning ahead that I'm going to edit that later on. Okay. And remember, here's the boundary surface that we created. It's created off of a whole bunch of different 3D sketches, so it will be difficult to drill down into, but as we're being really careful about this build, I don't think that it's going to be impossible. So, okay, there you go, like that. I'm going to shut this video down because these are two very big surfaces. I'm going to save my work right now. Okay, ski goggles R2. That's about like that. And in the next video, what I'm going to do is we'll create create some sort of 3D curve that's going to connect these two ends here and create another four-sided surface, and we'll do a boundary surface direction 1 top to bottom, direction 2 left to right. All right, and at that point we're going to be finished with the kind of frame of our goggles, and we're going to start getting into building the undersides on the top sides of the rest of this. Okay, so lots of work to do, but got some good momentum going, so we're feeling good. Keep on going.